All right, so here is another two-step multiplication problem. It says Tony wanted to know how many phones he has sold last month. Okay, so we need to know how many phones he sold. He knows that he worked 40 hours a week during 4 weeks. I'm going to go back. He knows that he worked 40 hours a week. So far, what is that? In 1 week. So that is a relationship between
weeks and hours.
Hours and weeks. Hours and weeks.
About 2 days of 24 hours, and then tomorrow will be half an hour.
So it's 40 hours. He worked 40 hours in 1 week. And he worked during 4 weeks. So he worked 4 weeks. Okay. Next sentence. If he sold 8 phones every hour. So he sold 8 phones in 1 hour. Is that part of this relationship? No. So I need to figure out, I need another relationship between phones and hours. So the second relationship says that he sold 8 phones in 1 hour or every hour. And the question is, how many phones did he sell last month? How many phones did he sell last month? Okay, so looking at these two relationships, where should I start with? What is it that I know that I can start with?
Hours and weeks.
I can figure out hours and weeks because I know how many hours he worked in 1 week, and I know how long he worked for. He worked for 4 weeks. I can't use phones and hours because, first of all, the question is about the phones, and I don't even know how many hours are here. Okay? Where am I going to get these hours from, by the way? From the weeks that he worked. Okay, so in this table, my relationship is between hours and weeks. He worked for 40 hours every week. How many hours did he work in 4 weeks? Notice one thing. I'm not putting my question mark here in the hours because that is not the question of the problem. My question mark here is with phones. Okay? Even though that's what I need to figure out, I'm not going to put a question mark so I don't want to get confused with trying to say, then I'm going to say that's my final answer, which is not. Okay? So, can I go from weeks to hours? Doing what? Times 40. Can I do the same with the 4 weeks? Yes. So, times 40 times 40. So to figure out how many hours he worked, I need to multiply the 40 hours times 4 weeks. And that should be an easy multiplication. 40 times 4.
160.
160 hours. Thank you. 160 hours. Now, is that my final answer? No, because the question is how many phones, and these are 160 hours. But now I know that this number can go here because these are my hours. So now I know he worked 160 hours, and now I can figure out how many phones he sold. So now I need another relationship, and this relationship is between phones and hours. He sold 8 phones every hour. How many phones he sold if he worked 160 hours? So I always start with 1. Can I go from hours to phones? Doing what? Times 8. Can I do the same with the 160 hours? Yes. So this is another multiplication. So times 8 times 8. So to figure out how many phones he sold, what did I do first?
You
40 times 4.
40 hours times 4 weeks, and now that number,
It's 160.
which is, in what do I need to do with this now?
Times it by 8.
Times it by 8 again. That will give me the total number of phones. 40 times 60, which is 160 times 8. So 8
Wait.
Let's just solve the answer.
expended for 160
100
plus 60. So it should be plus 0, but I don't need the 0 in the ones because there is no 0. I mean, any number times 0 is always 0. So I'm just going to say 100 plus 60 times 8. 8 times 100 is 800. And 8 times 60 is 480. So 800 plus 480.
Oh, it's
0 plus 0.
0.
0 plus 8. 8 plus 4. 12. So it's 1,280 phones.
Yes.
So he sold 1,280 phones.
That's a lot of phones.